Hi, my name is James Shepard, and today I want to talk to you about logical, emotional, and personal, the three keys to closing merchant deals. So this conversation, I actually had a conversation yesterday, and it was with somebody in our 6-week Jumpstart program. So for those of you who don't know what that is, we have a program where people who are new to the industry or that are really experienced and want to improve, they basically pay me for my time, and I coach them one-on-one, and then we have like a series of videos, about 250 videos actually, that they go through over the course of 6 weeks. So this particular agent was somebody who's really experienced, actually very consistently doing 8 to 10 deals a month, and he jumped into the program in order to get from 8 to 10 a month to 20 a month. So, we were talking about how are we going to make that leap, and I really was able to dive a lot deeper into how to really close deals. How do you get from this, 8 deal a month to 20 deal a month rep? And, what we really talked about was logical, emotional, and personal in that order when you're closing the sale. And so I want to talk about this a little bit. So when I'm talking about these three keys to closing deals, it really comes down to the order of your pitch and understanding the psychology of your prospect and understanding the psychology of the merchant. When you walk into a merchant location, your pitch really is going to be pretty personal initially. You might have a little bit of a personal conversation, but if you're going to make a sale, it's going to very quickly get logical, meaning you're going to be talking about savings, you're going to be talking about point of sale systems, you're going to be talking about tangible, logical things of these are the reasons that you should go with me. Okay, so that's like the presentation stage. So you always have that kind of initial opening pitch, but if you're really good at sales, you've already figured that out a long time ago. So it really comes down to you having this logical conversation. And so the problem I find with a lot of salespeople who are getting 8 to 10 deals a month and they want to get to 20 and they're like, what's the gap? A lot of times the gap is that they never transition from logical to emotional. So what you have to understand is that you have this transition where the merchant goes from a logical, decision and opinion to an emotional decision. No merchant, well, a few merchants will buy based on logic, but most merchants are buying based off of emotions, and that's the same in any sales thing. So let me explain what this sounds like. So the first thing I always do is when I get done with the presentation stage, I always ask this question to the merchant. I say, boy, it was great talking with you today, Susan. I think we've covered a lot of good information, and I try to highlight the best parts of what we covered, right? So I'll say, I think we covered a lot of good information today. The savings of over $7,000 a year, the new point of sale system, whatever it is, right? Lowering that transaction fee, whatever the highlights are. And then I'll say, now, do you have any other questions for me about anything that we've covered so far? So I always ask that. So that's kind of the end of the logical part. I say, are there any other questions you have for me about anything I've covered so far? So at that point, what's going to happen is usually the merchant is going to say, no, I don't have any other questions. Now, sometimes they'll say yes, and if they do, great, because then you can answer their questions, right? And when you're done answering the question, guess what you say? You say, wow, that was a really important question. I'm so glad you asked that, so I was able to answer it for you. Did that make sense, or are there any other questions you have? So you just ask it again until you get to the point where they say, nope, I don't have any other questions. When you get to that point, you're now going to transition away from logical over into emotional. Okay, over into the emotional stage. And so the emotional part is, emotionally, why should they move forward with you? How are you going to make them feel? Now, I realize for some of you, you're looking at this video or listening to the podcast thinking like, what are you talking about, James? What I'm talking about is how to actually become a really, 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 really good salesperson and make tons of money. Because most of you have never even thought about that. But you need to explain to the prospect how you're going to make them feel if they move forward with you. There you go. How's that for a tip? So how do you do this, right? Well, how are you going to make them feel? I don't know the answer to that question for you, so it's difficult for me to give you a pitch. Now, this particular person I talked to, he's, I had we were on the phone for 40 minutes on our initial call for the 6-week Jumpstart, so I was able to really nail down like exactly how he's going to make them feel, and we talked about a really specific pitch. So I can give you some ideas, but, are you going to make the merchant feel really secure? Are you going to make them feel fulfilled and feel like rewarded that they are working with a small business? Are you talking about that? Are you going to make them feel savvy because they saved all this money? Are you going to make them feel high tech because they just bought your point of sale system? Are you going to make them feel, hopeful about the future because you've now introduced some new payment methods they can accept or whatever, right? Like, how are you going to make them feel? And then you have to present that. So, you're like something like, and again, it's hard to give one because there's so many different ones you could do, but I might say something like, Susan, she said, I say, do you have any other questions for me? She says, no. I say, great. Boy, it's been so good talking with you today. And here's what I can tell you about working with me, okay? People who work with me, they understand that they're dealing with a local small business owner and they're supporting the small business community. And that really matters to people here in the area. I'm sure it matters to you, doesn't it? Yeah, of course it does. Everybody wants to support the small business community and kind of just be, a part of that, because as we're competing, I feel like all of us small business owners are competing against Walmart and Target. And so I love the concept and the feeling that I get of knowing that I'm working with other small business owners here in the community. And so I'm really looking forward to working with you because I'm really committed to making sure that you're happy, making sure that you're satisfied, making sure that you're getting what you want to get from the relationship. Okay? So we went from logical to emotional. Now again, using that line I just gave you is probably not going to work for you because you need to come up with your own very specific line about how you're going to make them feel and explain that to them. Okay? So you go from logical to emotional. Then you go personal. Okay? So now you're about to close the sale, right? So you've given them all this, how they're going to feel and everything like that. And now you're saying something personal. Again, the reason I don't shoot videos about this stuff is because I have no idea how you should make this personal. If you want to talk to me for a half hour, 45 minutes, I might. I have no idea how to make this personal for you because everybody's very different, right? So, your story is totally different, but you might do something in there and say something like, I might say, well, I can, and, last thing I want to tell you before we talk about, next steps here, Susan, is I want to explain to you that I've been in this industry now for 10 years. I am a professional. I'm an expert. I know payment processing better than your insurance agent knows insurance, better than your doctor knows medicine. I understand this industry inside and out. And one thing I can tell you is that I take every relationship seriously and I take every relationship personally, right? People that say, it's not business, it's personal. They're crazy, right? Of course it's personal. It's personal to me. Your business is personal to you. If somebody does business with you, you take that relationship seriously. I take the relationship just as seriously. So with that in mind, I want to go ahead and get started here and get moving forward. So let me ask you a question. And then I close. If you want to know about that, I just did a video that was released last week or two called The Question Close. And then I go into the question close. But before I get to the question close, I go logical, emotional, and personal. And then guess what? Sometimes they don't say yes. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? How would they not say yes to that pitch, right? And the funny thing is, if you get that pitch right that I just gave you, a lot of people are going to say yes, honestly. But, of course, some are not. They're going to say no. And when they say no, they're going to say it in a really, really nice way because you've made it personal. You made it emotional. So they're going to say something like, oh, it's, James, we'd love to work with you, but, we really need some time to think about it, right? Now I'm already in personal mode and I'm going to keep it in personal mode. Do not make the mistake of going back to logical. You will lose the sale every single time if you go back to logical. They're like, well, we really need to think about it. Well, what do you need to think about? The savings are going to be amazing. Think of all the savings you're going to have and this point of sale system and this feature. And we talked about you're going to lose the sale every single time. You're not going to go and talk them into it logically. They're making an emotional decision. So you got to stay emotional and personal, right? So now we're in that personal mode. We're staying in that personal mode. And if you say, well, James, how do these people that sell like 20 deals a month, 25 deals a month, how do they really close like hard? How do they push? They make it personal, okay? I say to them, Susan, I can certainly appreciate that. And I know that, what other people have found is that, when they're working with me, they work with me for a month and then they're so convinced because they're just amazed at all the benefits I'm providing and all the things I'm doing. And I know you're going to feel the same way. So here's the thing, okay? Like I said, this is personal to me, right? I want to make sure I get your account. And all I'm asking for today is a shot. I'm not asking for a decision over the next 10 years. I just want a shot. You know that you need to get this done, right? So let's move forward. You're at least going to give me a shot, aren't you? Make it personal. I could go on for like 2 hours about this topic, but I'm about to run out of time because LinkedIn has limited me to 10 minutes. So I want to put this on LinkedIn. So I'm going to tell you all, I'm James Shepard, and thank you for watching and listening. Have an awesome day.